Welcome back into Olympic Ice. I am, of course, Nick Burton. No Matt Merrifield tonight. He will be back tomorrow night. But we still have a whole day of action to recap. Day 4 for men's hockey at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina. We had one group finish up today. Another group hit their second game. And then tomorrow we will close out those last two groups. And we will know what our final bracket looks like. Let's get straight into the action we saw today. Listen, Group B was going to be the best group here. And that was just basically because you had Sweden and Finland in the same group. I don't think anybody expected what we saw from Slovakia, but we had a great game today between Sweden and Slovakia. Was a 6:10 puck drop here in Eastern Standard Time Zone. A absolutely outstanding game. A game that had massive implications depending on what happened later in the day, which we will get into right after this one. We'll skip over the other 6:10 game and just group the groups together today. So Sweden gets a 5-3 victory. Wouldn't be enough, though, as tiebreakers and all that. We'll get into those situations later. 51 shots for Sweden today, 32 for Slovakia. It was Joel Eriksson Ek opening up the scoring about 7 minutes into the game. Savkovsky would answer about 2 minutes later. His third goal of the game. He is, I believe, the second or third player all time to get 10 goals in 10 Olympic appearances or game appearances. Just on a wild run for him. You'd go into the first intermission at a 1-1 tie. It would be a little bit of a repeat again in the second period, right around the 7-minute mark. It would be Adrian Kempe scoring for Sweden to make it 2-1. Would be about 2 minutes later. It would be Martin Gernot for Slovakia. Would tie the game at 2-2. But then with about 5 minutes remaining in the period, it would be Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks getting his first goal of the Olympics, giving Sweden the 3-2 lead going into the third period. And he would pick up his second goal of the game with about, I think it was about 15 minutes left in the game to make it 4-2 Sweden. Lucas Raymond picked up his first goal with just under 9 minutes remaining in the game to make it 5-2 Sweden. Things were going all great and dandy. Sweden got to where they needed to be with everything that could potentially happen with tiebreakers. And Dubor Dvovsky gets his second goal of the Olympics on the power play with just over 40 seconds remaining in the game, which swung absolutely everything. If Sweden were to have kept the 5-2 lead, tiebreaker-wise, they move into a spot where Finland win. They're still, finding ways to advance on. Slovakia are finishing third in the group. With this, though, all Finland had to do was win in regulation, and they would be going on with Slovakia as group winners, and then Finland would be second and Sweden would be third. Sweden ends up pulling their goalie basically for those last 40 seconds. They can't find one more goal. Game ends 5-3. I don't think I've ever seen a game where the losing team celebrated like they won and a winning team looked like they lost. It was a great game overall, though. Obviously, plentiful of opportunities in this game. The goal at the end for Slovakia really spiced things up. And, I'll just kind of combine it here. Finland get 11-0 victory over Italy, which ends up finishing up Group B. It would be Slovakia first, Finland second, Sweden third, and Italy fourth. If we take a look at the shots here, it was 62 shots for Finland. New Olympic record there. We saw what just got broken, set I don't know, 72 hours ago, something along those lines. 62 shots for Finland today compared to Italy's 15. Your first period goal scorers were Sebastian Aho, Mikael Granlund, and Capo Caco, all getting their first goals of the tournament. We look at second period goal scorers. It would be Joel Kravanta, Capo Caco, and Mikael Granlund. Of course, those two getting their second goals of the day, and Kravanta getting his first of the tournament. And then you look at your goal scorers in the third period, where they were just pouring it on. I mean, we went into the intermission. It was 6-0 Finland going into the third. Miro Heiskanen, Arturi Lehkonen, Sebastian Aho, Joel Armia, and Joel Kravanta pick up goals for Finland to give them the 11-0 victory. So like I said, that sees Slovakia finish top of the group, and that goal with less than a minute to go is the difference here. Overall, like I said, Group B was going to be the best group just because of Sweden and Finland being there. I don't think anybody really expected Slovakia to be a spoiler type team. Now Slovakia is top of the group, and hey, it's fun. It's fun to see this. Sweden now is setting up to most likely be the 7 seed in our bracket, which means they will probably, well, not probably, they will play the team that finishes second in the group's overall standings. So it's going to be Canada or the U.S. We'll decide that tomorrow, and that's mostly going to be goal differential unless something monumental happens and one of them loses. It's going to be either Canada playing Sweden in the quarterfinal, or it's going to be the U.S. playing Sweden in the quarterfinal. That's, of course, if Sweden doesn't lose in the playoff round, but I'm just assuming they will win, given they kind of finally seem to be turning it on a bit here at this tournament. Again, I love what I saw today. Great tournament. Me and Matt talked about it yesterday on the show. Feels like the time was coming that this was going to happen, and it happened today. Finland truly didn't really need that much of goal differential. It's good that they have it because that 100% solidifies that they will be the last team to get that bye going into the quarterfinal, which, again, I always thought that second quarterfinal bye would be coming out of this group. I just figured it would be Sweden or Finland, with the other finishing in first. So that's the excitement of this. We see things like this happen. This is what it's all about. The other 6-10 game today was Germany-Latvia. Latvia pulls off, I would say, the upset with a 4-3 victory over Germany. It was Arthur Shilov's in net today for Latvia instead of Elvis Merzlikins. And he played a big role in this game finishing the way it did. We look at our goal scorers. We had a 3-goal first period with Lucas Reichel scoring 2 minutes into the game. Donj Lokomecki scoring with just under 5 minutes remaining in the first period. And just a minute later, it was Lucas Cabalet scoring for Germany, as it would be Germany taking a 2-1 lead going into the first intermission. Only 1 goal in the second, and it would be Donj Lokomecki scoring again for Latvia, taking it to 2-2 going into the third. Latvia the doors broke open for them in the third period. It would be Edwards Charles-Marx scoring 8 minutes into the period, making it 3-2 Latvia. Renards Krastenberg scores with just under 9 minutes remaining, and that made it 4-2 Latvia. Tim Stützle pulled one back with about 3 minutes remaining in the game. They couldn't find that last goal. Latvia wins. I mentioned yesterday, is this a look-ahead spot for the Germans? And it kind of looks that way. They could have had it all to play for tomorrow. And they technically still do. If they get a win, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. So if they beat the U.S., they'll win the group. It doesn't look good when you lose to Latvia. This Latvian team is good, but you can't be losing to them like this. So Germany kind of put up a stinker today, but for Latvia, a great performance. Shots were 29-22 in favor of Germany. But Latvia they looked like the much better team today. Like I said, it looked like the Germans were looking ahead to tomorrow already, kind of looked past Latvia. Latvia took advantage of that, and they get the win. Our last game of the day was the USA taking on Denmark. They get a 6-3 victory, which you would think would be, hey, 6-3 victory, that's very good. They look great. I don't see it. I really don't. They started Swayman in net today. That was my first big thing. Swayman's the third best goalie on this roster by far, and I don't know why Ottinger is being designated the third goalie this whole tournament. This should have been Ottinger's net today. Two of the three Denmark goals he probably saves. Just say. It was just a minute and 40 seconds into this game, just a mess in front of Swayman. It was Nick Olsen was right there at the net. Shot gets deflected off of Zach Werenski's skate, goes straight through the 5-hole back of the net. It was Denmark with a 1-0 lead just under 2 minutes into this game. I'm like, that's something to keep my eye on there. But 2 minutes later, it would be Matt Boldy with assists from Quinn Hughes and Jacob Slavin that would tie up the game at 1-1. And then just such an odd moment. It was 11 minutes into the game, so there was right around 9 minutes left in the first period. It was Nicholas Jensen takes a shot from the red line, and Swayman just doesn't see it. And it goes into the back of the net, and it's 2-1 Denmark. I was stunned when I saw this go in. Like I said, he had zero idea where this puck was. I get that it somewhat blended. He said, it blended into the boards and the crowd because obviously there's not a crowd on the glass. Like, there's a nice space around the arena, so you don't have like fans right there that could help you see the puck, basically, like color balance. And he was moving already to the left, and the puck just went top corner on his right shoulder. It was a bad look. It was a bad look, especially since they go into the end of the first. It was 2-1 Denmark. And the second period's going on, and Denmark is just kind of mucking this game up. They're controlling the tempo, and like the U.S. just kind of they're having fun basically. It felt a lot like the game we saw against Latvia. They were kind of just going through the motions the first half of the game, and then all of a sudden it's like once they hit that 30-minute mark in the game, a switch flips, and it's just the floodgates open. Brady Tkachuk scores his second goal of the tournament. Like I said, right past that 30-minute mark. Then Jack Eichel scores a minute later. Noah Hannafin closes it out in the second period for the U.S. to make it 4-2. Philip Bugester scores with 3 seconds left in the period to make it 4-3 U.S. So Denmark kind of gets back in this game. And then it would be Jake Gensel scoring 7 minutes into the third, and then Jack Hughes scoring with just over 5 minutes remaining in the game, and that's how we get to 6-3. But there seems to be a bigger problem with this U.S. team. It really just kind of feels like they're going through the motions for half the game, and then it's like, we better turn it on and pump up the score to make it look like we're better. I don't know. I'm not the one that should be talking U.S. here because I'll be honest, there's a little bit of bias here. But hey, what is the fun in this without any bias? Sports aren't fun without biases. Overall, though, the U.S. is still the second best team here. But the more and more we watch them and the best team here, which is Canada by far, like the U.S. doesn't look as they are right now. They do not look like they have the mentality that they came here to win gold. They look like they're here having fun, having a good time. And maybe it's just because it's the group stage and nobody gets eliminated, there's no real stakes. Maybe it will turn on when we get to the quarterfinals. Or heaven forbid they lose tomorrow and they're in the playouts. I don't know. I don't see it with this team. I saw a tweet somewhere. I don't remember who tweeted it, but it was basically the U.S. came into this tournament and they made it seem like it was a coronation for them. And a lot of people need to, let some air out of their heads and get to business, basically. I don't totally disagree. I really don't know where that whole coronation thing comes from because Canada is still the best team coming into this tournament. They by far have looked at that way. They have come in looking straight business. I don't know. That's a debate for much later. There are still group stage games that are still to transpire. Let's get into them. Our final day of group stage play begins 6:10 a.m. Eastern. That is 12:10 in Milan. Switzerland, Czechia. Basically, this game's going to decide who finishes second in the group. Winner is probably, say, your 5 seed, maybe your 6 seed. I would say most likely 5 seed. Czechia and Switzerland both have the common opponent in Canada. Switzerland actually got one in the back of the net. Czechia did not. Czechia did look a little bit better when they played France, but I mean they let France in that game, so not the best of looks. I'm still waiting for Czechia to turn it on this tournament, and maybe this is the game. Maybe it's not, and maybe this Czechia team that I saw on paper just isn't a thing. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm just going to pick Czechia here because I think it's better that way. But hey, like at this point, who knows what's going to happen in this group because there's just been silly things happening all tournament. I'm still going to take Czechia here, but I truly wouldn't be surprised at all if Switzerland win. You got to think with the injuries on Friday against Canada, what kind of mentality does Switzerland have coming into this game? Going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I just think, again, on paper, Czechia is the better team. Just what Czechia team will we see? That's the question. 10:40 a.m. We somewhat previewed this already yesterday that the French should just wave the white flag already. Because this game is going to look like the Italy-Finland game today. With Canada playing for first place and goal differential is going to be a factor, most likely, you are going to see a 11-0, 12-1. Who knows? Something like that. Because that's just what it's going to be. There's no real point in previewing much more than that. Canada, by far, the best team at the Olympics. France looks like the worst team at the Olympics. France is going to need to keep pucks out of the net, though, to decide who's the 11 seed and who's the 12 seed between them and Italy. So maybe they put up a little bit more of a fight, but it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly fast. Move to Group C action. Denmark, Latvia. This is another one. This is going to be probably for third and fourth place divide. Obviously, it depends on where Germany ends up falling tomorrow. If Latvia win this game, Germany lose, that plays a factor in there, and then things get messy. Things get real messy. But like I said, Denmark looked halfway decent today. Both teams here have given a fight to the U.S. Now, is that because the U.S. aren't as good as people think they are? Possibly. But overall, I think Latvia is the better team. I'm assuming Freddie Anderson is going tomorrow. I'm assuming Elvis Smers-Linkens is going tomorrow. I'm taking the better goalie in this game. Give me Elvis Smers-Linkens. Give me Latvia here. And the final game of the group stage play is USA-Germany. Again, a lot of its luster lost with Germany winning, or losing, I should say, this morning. Germany can still technically win the group, I believe, if they win here and Latvia loses, because then it just becomes it's a mess if it doesn't work out that way. The biggest intrigue to me is what U.S. team do we see in the first 30 minutes? Are we going to see another team that's lackadaisical? Because one time it's, okay, whatever. 2 times it's, I'm noticing. 3 times you do it all 3 games of the group stage, that's a trend. That, folks, is a trend. And I'm going to be interested to see if the same U.S. team that we see in the last 30 minutes shows up for a full 60 this game, because I believe they'll show up in the last 30 against Germany and probably run it up. But it's a bad look. It's a bad look when you only play 30 minutes, basically. And you're kind of just lackadaisical in the first 30. And you either find yourself tied 1-1, down 2-1. You're not going to be able to do that against the Germanys. Or against the Germanys. Germany has a lot of top talent there. The Swedes, you can't do that against the Swedes. You can't do that against the Finns. You may not be able to do that against the Slovaks, depending on what we see from them. And you sure as hell can't do it against Canada. The U.S. wins this game. They'll be on to the quarterfinals. But we got to see something tomorrow. At least I do. So that is going to wrap it up for Olympic Ice. Like I said, back tomorrow, recap the whole group stage. Matt Merrifield should be back joining me tomorrow. And we'll recap what we saw in these last 4 games, and we'll look ahead. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Olympic Ice here on the Nick Bird Sports Network. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe. We only got a week left of this. It's going to be quick. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for another episode of Olympic Ice here on the Nick Burt Sports Network.